Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks for tuning in to watch The Ordinary Filmmaker. Today's topic, and only topic, is the Sony a7 IV. We have more leaked specifications. These are all coming from Sony Alpha rumors, and some of them tend to contradict other rumors we got previously from Sony rumors, or even Sony Alpha rumors themselves. Now, we did hear previously that it is going to have a 33 megapixel sensor, and that the camera, the a7 IV, is going to be due out in late October. Well, Sony Alpha Rumors now says that, well, late October is, of course, dependent upon the availability of components, if chip supply permits allows this to happen, as they say. I'm sorry, it's September the 23rd. If this camera is supposed to be coming out in a month, then Sony should already know if they've got enough components enough. In fact, if they're going to be announcing it in late October, maybe that's all they're doing. They're just announcing it. It won't be available till maybe January, November, or December, or February. Who knows? These are rumors, of course, and Sony does a very, very good job of not leaking stuff. So whenever it comes to any sort of Sony rumor, regardless of its source, I do take them with a bit of a grain of salt. Now, what Sony Alpha Rumors also said is that this camera is going to be capable of 7K oversampled 4K. And yes, we did mention that before, but this time around, they're saying that this camera is going to be capable of 4K 30, not 4K 60. Now, granted, having that high detail 4K really, really matters, but there are people out there that really want to be able to shoot in 4K 60 or even 4K 120. Now, this camera is definitely not going to do 4K 120, but the problem with eliminating 4K 60 means no slow motion in 4K. Now, I kind of read this with one of two ways. That this camera is capable of 4K 60, but when it comes to the 7K oversample mode, no, it's limited to 4K 30. And this is quite plausible. Look at the Canon R5. It does 8K oversample 4K, 24, 25, and 30 frames per second. But when it comes to 4K 60, yep, it's not doing that 8K oversample anymore. That's what the R3 will do. So I do hope it is capable of 4K 60, but we'll just have to wait and see, because this update from Sony Alpha Rumors says no, nothing about 4K 60 in any way whatsoever. Now, this other feature that they talk about, I'm kind of excited about, 15 stops of dynamic range. I really do love dynamic range, and yes, you have to shoot in log, and yes, it's a little more tricky than shooting in 8-bit. But once you've got the hang of that, the detail, the detail in the shadows, it just looks more natural. It looks more real. And sure, 15 stops is a lot, but when you consider what our eyes can see, which is right around 20 stops of dynamic range, it makes a difference. When I'm out shooting, it's funny because quite often it's almost like I've still got that viewfinder up to my eye. I'm looking around and I'm seeing the dynamic range. I see the different shading off the clouds and the dark clouds and the light fluffy clouds against the backdrop of the blue sky, the green trees, and the shading on the ground. I see all of that. And there was one time when I was out shooting, I don't know if I was tired or not, but I felt like moving my hand up to adjust the lens, and I didn't have a camera in front of my face. Have you ever done that? But the point goes back to dynamic range is very, very important. And to actually have 15 stops of dynamic range in a stills hybrid camera, that really is a stills camera first and foremost. It is. Like anybody today who's a professional doing wedding events or anything out there, yes, you want to have really good stills capabilities, but when you need it because your customers are asking for it, you also want to have good video. And I just absolutely love dynamic range. I think the R5 is somewhere right around 13 and a half, 14 stops of dynamic range, and it's changed my shooting. When I first got the camera, I started shooting in 8-bit, and I did that for a few months until I switched over to Canon Log 1. And I gotta tell you, when I go back and look at those videos shot in 8-bit, it feels like it was 5 years ago. Everything that I've shot since in Canon Log 3 is just truly amazing. So if you're gonna get the Sony a7 IV, if you've got the Sony a7 III, and you have the option in whatever Sony camera you have, shoot in S-Log 3, you're really gonna love the dynamic range. It's just gonna provide a more real vision of what you're capturing. Because whenever we use a camera, we're seeing the world differently. The camera sees the world differently than we do. For example, dynamic range, color range, and all of that. But this is not I'm not Gerald Undone. I'm not going to go into a deep dive into the physics behind how the camera sees things. Let's go back and take a look at the specifications that we do have in this update. So again, it's supposed to launch in October, but that's if chip supply permits this. Newly developed sensor, the 33 megapixel sensor with 15 stops of dynamic range. We talked about that. Same body style and dimensions as the A7S III. Full-size HDMI, and of course you know about the dual SD card slots. Now if we go back a couple of months, let's take a look at how things have changed a little bit. The one thing I really, and I could see Sony doing this, 1.44 million dot LCD. They did it with the Alpha 1 too, which is a $6,500 camera. I just don't get that. They've got a 2.36 million dot LCD. I really do hope this camera has that. There's no reason not to do it other than to save a few bucks, and I think that's what this is all about. There's only so much money you can spend on a camera, and with the Alpha 1, it wasn't that they were cheaping out on the camera, it's that they decided to spend the money elsewhere on the camera, but I know 2.3 would be a whole lot better than 1.44, and the EVF is supposed to be 3.68. Same new menu system, and I know I shouldn't have to say this, but some cameras have come out after the A7S III with the old menu system. And price is supposed to be $2,400. So yeah, also it's supposed to have the same heatsink as the A7S III. So all in all, I think it's going to be a great camera, but still these specifications leaked or forecasted, they really don't go into a lot of details on the photo side. And really this is a stills hybrid camera first, so I'm hoping we do get to see that. And now let's go briefly behind the scenes. I'm not going to be live streaming this Friday, and probably not for the foreseeable future. You see, I have 3 issues. One is architecture. I need to run cabling down to my basement studio, and that's something I can solve pretty quickly and on the cheap, most likely this weekend. The second is my wife got a job, and that's actually not an issue. That's a great thing, but where it makes an issue regarding live streaming is I live stream between 8 and 10 on Friday, and she's done work right around 8:30 to 9. So it makes it, we have a 1-car family, so it gives me some logistics there to work out. I'm not going to have my wife walk home after, you know, a really, really long day and a long week. So I've got to figure that out, and that's, it's tough because Friday's really the best time to do it. I don't want to do live streams on the weekend, and many of my guests don't as well. So I'm kind of, I'm not sure what to do. I've got to rethink it. I really do like the format. I like having guests, and I think that's the way to go. Maybe you can give me some thoughts. What's the best way to do this live stream? Do I do it earlier in the day? And that's something I got to figure out. But that's all I really wanted to talk to you about in this behind the scenes. The live stream, I am planning on bringing it back, but I've just got to work out a few things. It seems like you make 2 steps forward and always 1 step backwards, and that's a big part of things. But thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed and you've been watching for a long time, please go ahead and subscribe because it really does help this channel grow. It's based on YouTube's algorithms with enough user engagement, especially on the subscriptions. They actually then suggest it to more and more people. Let's get this channel up to 30,000 subscribers by the end of the year. But again, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.